Hello, everybody. You know who I am. I'm your favorite English professor. Well, I shouldn't say professor in English because professor in English is something else. But I'm here with Laura and she's from Colombia. So that's actually where I got my name. Colombians call me Profe Kyle. So that's why I call myself professor, because according to Colombians, I'm a professor. And Laura, how are you doing?
Hello. I think professor sounds fancier. It's professor.
Yeah, that's
Intellectual.
why I always liked it, because I always felt like I was smarter and more qualified because they would always call me professor, even though I don't know if it's completely true. But thank you, Colombians, for making me feel even smarter than I actually am. So I got Laura here. I discovered Laura about a week ago. Normally, I try not to get distracted with social media, and I try to avoid the explore page, but for some reason, I think I was in the explore page. I was going to search something in Buenos Aires, and I had a video of a girl, a lady. I was like, oh, she kind of looks Colombian. And then something about, I don't know. I think the video that I saw of yours and I reposted in the stories was about basically your journey through the different wages, different.
Oh, like different jobs in the United
Yeah,
States.
yeah, exactly. So I saw like,
What
wow,
are
this
they
this
doing?
this is perfect for people who are thinking about going to the United States. Like, what's the journey to go from basically? Actually, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to teach it to everybody right now, but let's see if Laura knows it. In English, for gringos, we say "fob," fresh off the boat. Have you ever heard "fresh off the boat"? Yes or no?
I've heard of the expression, not the abbreviation for
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah. So fresh off the boat for Latinos basically just means an immigrant who just moved to the United States. Obviously, for Latinos, they're not going to be coming off of a boat. Usually, it's going to be an airplane, but I don't know how long we've been using it for, but we use it for a lot of immigrants. Fresh off the boat just means they just arrived to Canada or the United States. So yeah, with the video of Laura, she showed basically her journey from a fresh off the boat immigrant to where she is now. And I reposted. Laura said thank you. And I said, you know what? I always look for people to interview. I'll see if Laura wants to be interviewed. And luckily, Laura is a former journalist. So she has no problems being interviewed.
I
So
love cameras. I love questions. I love talking. So here we are.
oh good. So I can ask you lots of questions.
Go ahead.
So yeah, this is Laura. Today, basically, I want to be asking Laura questions about her journey from going from Colombia to the United States, culture shocks, all that stuff. So I guess to get started, Laura, can you give us a quick introduction? Who are you and what do you do? Where are you from? All that good stuff.
Okay, I'm Laura. I'm Colombian, 100% Colombian,
Yeah.
born and raised. I love my country, and I'm a journalist. As I have 10 years of experience in my country. Then I moved to the States due to private reasons. But my journey has been amazing because in Colombia, I think we're spoiled because we have a lot of help, like, cleaning people, like you don't see that in the United States. So I think I have evolved into a different person because this country changed me a lot. With that said, when I came to America, of course, I wasn't a journalist anymore.
Yeah.
I started cleaning, and then when I started like knowing the culture, the country, how it works, then I got better jobs. And right now I'm an influencer, content creator.
Yeah.
And what I do is basically what I've lived in the States. So I tell people how is living in the United States, from like educational videos to comedy. I do like everything, trends, but I try to teach people, hey, I know to get to America is not easy. To adapt to this country is not easy. It's like very, very hard. And so I try to tell them my experiences and how to overcome all the obstacles and issues that people might be struggling as a Latina.
Yeah, actually, well, you said a whole bunch of things, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about all of them during
Of
this
course.
interview. But yeah, one thing that you said that was interesting was about, yeah, well, there's a few things. One thing was about the help. One of my culture shocks when I went to Latin America was to see basically in Colombia, Mexico, it really doesn't matter where you live, maybe Argentina, Uruguay, a little bit less, but basically, if you have a little bit of money in Latin America, you're going to hire somebody to help you clean. You'll hire somebody to help you cook. You'll hire somebody to, take care of your kids. Lots of help. But in the United States, not so much. But I don't want to talk about that right away. First, I want to know a bit more about your backstory, because I was doing some research, and I knew you're from Colombia, but I didn't know where you were from Colombia. Then one of your videos on your Instagram page, you said that you're from Valledupar. So I taught English in Cartagena for 1 year, and that's where I got my name, where I got started teaching English. So I got lots of experience with Costeños. So I was like, my favorite and least favorite Colombians. I have a love-hate relationship with. I love Costeños because their energy, they're some of the friendliest people in the world. They know how to live life. At the same time, it's impressive how much noise Costeños are able to create, some of the noisiest people in the world. So I guess we can talk about that. Okay. But to get started, so you're from Valledupar.
We talk about that because that was one of the cultural shocks I had here. Yeah. Okay.
But we're gonna get into culture shocks in a second. So I'm just curious because when I was teaching in the university in Cartagena, there was a few people from.
What university?
I was at the Universidad Tecnológica de Bolívar.
I studied there for 6 months.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Was it in Manga or was it in the? I can't remember what the other. That's where I was teaching there. Yeah. Oh, so you know exactly where I was teaching. So I was.
My English classes were in Manga because the English classes. Well, mine, I don't know if that changed. Anyways, okay, we have something.
It was kind of strange. Because there's some English classes in wherever that place was that I was teaching, Ternera. And there's also in Manga, there are English classes. Kind of a pain in the neck to go all the way to Manga, but I don't know where you were living, but I think for a lot of students, I got to go. I like Manga. Manga's a nice neighborhood, but to take the buseta from wherever it was in Cartagena to Manga was always a pain in the neck, I think, for me and for many of the students.
For me, it was the opposite because I was living in Manga. So
even better for you.
I was like, oh my gosh, I have to.
So for you,
it was like 40 minutes in the bus.
So for you, it was the opposite. Yeah, hot. Yeah, no air conditioning on those busetas. Lots of people. Yeah, it wasn't the best experience in the world. Yeah, and of course, but at the same time, I want to ask you about that because you're from Valledupar, which is the capital of Colombia's favorite music, Vallenato. And of course, when I was on the busetas, I prefer champeta personally, and I always thought I'm going to be in Cartagena.
More
it's going to be. It had just more energy. I like the funky sounds. Vallenato always sounded like a man who was crying because. Something bad happened to him. Okay. Yeah. Not my type of music. So, I guess first question: are you a big Vallenato fan, or are you not a big Vallenato fan?
I am a big Vallenato fan because I was born in Valledupar, capital mundial del vallenato, or capital of vallenato music, and I was born in this city, and then sun up to sundown is accordion, and since we are in the middle, in the epicenter of this culture, our culture revolves around the music. Who's the singer, who's the accordionist, what's the new song, what's the new album? It's everything about this. And vallenato lyrics are poems to women, to nature, to, weather, to everything.
Yeah.
With that said, I just have to add that I was the host, the MC for the Vallenato Festival, which is every year in April, and it's a big party. Valledupar has a population of 400,000 people. And for the Vallenato Festival, we get 100,000 people. So it's huge traffic. It just gets crazy. It gets crazy because it's 5 days, no school, no bands, nothing. Like it's paralyzed. Even the president of the country of Colombia, he goes there for the inauguration, and he does this, like his speech and everything. It's just so important for us, our culture. Sure. So being born in Valledupar and raised in Valledupar to listen to vallenato, 25 hours a day out of 24. And it's to be like happy, and like one of your friends can be the person that plays the accordion, and the other one plays the drums, and the other one, sings, and just like party all the time.
Yeah. Well, like I tell many Colombians, I'm not a big fan of vallenato, but at the same time, I like how you explain it. So maybe explain it to a foreigner or maybe another Latino who doesn't understand vallenato. Like this, because for me, it just always sounded like the men were crying about a woman that broke their heart.
Yeah.
But I've heard from other Colombians, no, like it's about other stuff. There are happy songs, there are sad songs, there's songs about nature. So yeah, I guess describe this poetry. In a way, it almost sounds like Gabo's Cien Años de Soledad. Like it sounds
Yes, it is.
kind of related
So,
to that Costeño culture, right?
in fact, we used to say that Cien Años de Soledad, Gabo, it's a vallenato written written in a book.
Yeah,
Because of the way he was writing it. So vallenato was born this way. We didn't have mail back then, right?
Yeah.
Mail services, you know. So there was a person on a donkey or a horse, and this person was spreading the news, sending messages from one village or town to another one.
Yeah.
On a donkey, you know.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
would go like the first town, then the second one, he would say, Profe Kyle. For you, but he would sing the news.
Okay,
He wouldn't
yeah.
tell you the news. It was a
Okay,
paper, it was oral expression, you know, singing.
Okay, yeah.
And then this evolved to vallenato music. Then when we have like the Spanish conquerors and we have all this influence by like the Black population, that was the drum comes.
Okay.
And the guacharaca, which is the other instrument, is from indigenous people. And the accordion was brought like from Europe, and it came from Germany. In fact, we have like the special editions for our accordions, for our music from the Germany company. So it was like a blend of three cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
Telling stories, talking about, you know, the farms, the animals, the people, the women, anecdotes, stories, just so rich. If you sit and listen, I'm going to send you a playlist so you can enjoy it.
All right.
You don't feel like the guy is just crying, you know?
Yeah.
These are interpreters that like just feel what's going on. And stories in their life. So, and then it evolved. And then before it was like, oh, this music is just for like low class people. But then it became so popular that presidents were listening to it. And it became like one of the musical, you know, genres that it identifies Colombia in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, yeah, because if you travel in Colombia now, you might think, oh, the Cachacos, they're not going to be listening to vallenato. But yeah, you go to Bogota, you go to Medellin, you go to any part of Colombia. Yeah. I think the only part of Colombia where they might not listen to vallenato that much is Cali. Like Caleños, they love salsa. When I was in Cali, I almost never heard vallenato. But
they have
was surprised. But yeah, every once in a while.
And a lot of vallenato singers, bands go there. I mean, of course, they're going to defend salsa because...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Salsa. It's like, in Valledupar, you hardly hear salsa, you know, like, but people like it. So it has a room in every party, people dance to it. So it might happen in Cali as well. But of course, like 90% vallenato, and then the rest, that other 10% is like champeta, reggaeton, salsa, etc.
Yeah, for sure. Now, for the vallenato bands or singers, do all of them come from Valledupar, or is it all from all of the coast? Like, are there
mostly from the north coast? So Valledupar is like the center.
Yeah, the epicenter. Yeah,
the epicenter. But musicians are born in La Guajira, which is another state, or we call it department. And I would say like most of them from La Guajira, and then Cesar, which is the state or department which Valledupar is. But we have a lot of people too, and great musicians from other parts like Cartagena, like Santa Marta, Barranquilla, Monteria. And funny thing is, like, when you hear somebody singing a vallenato that is not from La Guajira or Cesar, it sounds different. It doesn't sound bad. It just sounds different because the vibe is different, but it's still vallenato. It's good, but it's just, you can tell, oh, this person is from Cartagena. Oh, this musician, look at how the accordion sounds. He must be from the La Sabana. We say La Sabana or something like that. But yeah, we have like from different states, and even cachacos or rolos. We have a accordionist from there. Actually, in the Festival Vallenato, we crown a queen, like
it's like the beauty queen.
And
is it beauty queen
like
or Oh,
to
okay.
remove
Oh,
that. So
okay. Yeah. All right. Now, like I said, I love the Costa. Like I said, it's a love-hate relationship. Like again, I love the people. The people are so friendly. Obviously, I'm Canadian, so I think the one thing that I hate about the Coast is that it is so hot. I've never lived anywhere in
yeah,
the world that is so hot. Uh,
I'm
and like
glad
I
you
said,
say that, because sometimes
yeah,
I tell people, they ask me like, how's weather in
yeah,
your city? I'm like, we don't have seasons. We're like, what?
yeah,
Seasons, there's
exactly.
places in the world we don't have seasons.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's summer all year round. People are like, oh my God, just awesome. No, that's not awesome. I'm from
yeah,
there. And
yeah,
it can be sometimes like, oh my gosh, I need a break.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel you. I've been
yeah.
there for 30 years or so.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lot. Sometimes
Well,
you're
I think
like, okay,
the favorite thing that Costeños like to say is, and for me, it's funny at the same time. I say to myself, like there'd be like an old woman, 80 years old from the coast, and like, you lived here for 80 years, but it doesn't matter how old the person is. Always, oh, qué calor,
uh-huh.
qué calor, qué calor. Every day. It doesn't matter how old you are. Just oh, qué calor. Yeah, so the favorite thing that Costeños like to say is qué calor, qué calor. Yeah, because it doesn't matter if you're in Monteria, if you're in Santa Marta, Guajira, wherever it is in the coast, it's always hot. Like there's not one part of the coast where it's kind of cold. Every part of the coast is qué calor,
It's
qué calor.
hard, like you just have to put yourself in street vendor shoes. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't know how they do it,
Mhm.
honestly. These people
Yeah.
that work all day, and these people, we have like this motorcycles that you
Oh,
can,
yeah.
they
Mhm.
can give you a ride and you pay, like it's like
Yeah.
Uber but with
Yeah, the
motorcycles.
moto taxi.
How
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do it,
Mhm.
honestly. These
Yeah,
people, it's hot, like your skin, your head, your hair,
yeah.
it
Mhm.
gets sizzling. It's just, I don't. So to me, that's like a real hard job to do that
Yeah.
under that heat, and
Mhm.
just because
And
we take a bus to get to the university in Cartagena, but that's it. Then we get
yeah,
there and we're fine.
yeah,
It's just like an hour or something, but they are like 12 hours there.
yeah. The people that work in the streets, construction workers. I've heard some costeños say that because the stereotype about costeños in Colombia is that like from
Mhm.
Cachacos, whether they're paisas or they're Bogotanos, Rolos, they're gonna say, "Oh, costeños, they never work, they're
Oh yeah,
lazy, stuff
sure.
like that." And who knows? I mean, I think some costeños agree, some costeños don't agree. But I remember I had one student, costeño student from Cartagena, and she was actually she's taking class with me for the first time after 5 years of not taking class with me. She now lives in Bogota, and she got kind of angry at the Cachacos because they were constantly saying, "Oh, costeños, they're lazy." And then she finally said, well, during class, she just said, "Yeah, but these Bogotanos don't understand. When it's plus 32, 35 degrees Celsius every day with humidity, it's pretty hard, at noon in Cartagena, Santa Marta, Valledupar to work." And in a way, I think it's a good point because even for me, I was lucky. I went to the university, they had air conditioning, but like you said, I couldn't imagine being a construction worker in Cartagena. It's that temperature, and you
No.
gotta be shoveling or hammering away or doing some sort of manual labor, and you're just sweating so much. Oh, it must be very difficult to work in those conditions.
Now that you say that,
Yeah.
one culture shock for me when I came here and I saw like the police officers' uniforms
Mhm.
in the summer, they wore shorts.
Yeah.
And in Cartagena or Valledupar, like they wear like long sleeves and pants all the time. And I
Yeah.
was like, it should be this way, short sleeve, shorts. Like these officers, police officers in Cartagena, that's torture.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
would consider that like, no, that's too informal. They are police officers. They can't look like that.
Yeah. Actually, well, right now I'm in Buenos Aires and it's summertime. So for me, Argentina in the summertime, in many parts, it's kind of like the Caribbean or kind of like the Costa. But yeah, here people have no problems wearing shorts, which I kind of like because as a gringo, when I'm in Latin America, I try to obviously you already know in the coast, there's no way that I'm gonna fit in, gonna look like I'm Costeño because it's obvious that I'm, as the Costeños say, I'm a mono. I'm a mono. They know I'm mono. They know I'm a foreigner. But yeah, in Argentina,
Mono.
yeah, exactly. Mono. Yeah, mono. Yeah. But yeah, for me, it was always so confusing because people would be wearing long sleeve shirts, long sleeve pants, and you think, like, wear some shorts like it's hot here. I know you're sweating underneath those clothes. Like, just wear some.
Be comfortable. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think at least for women like you can wear like the, I guess the blusa or whatever. But the men would always be wearing these long sleeve clothes. Ooh, torture. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's always so formal. Yeah.
Now, because one thing about Cartagena, or even Barranquilla doesn't really have nice beaches, but it's right along the coast, and you got Santa Marta. But I always thought it must be a different experience, living in Sincelejo or Monteria or Valledupar, because there's not really any beaches to escape to. So maybe that's one of the questions I have for you about growing up in Valledupar. So you guys have Vallenato, but was there any way, like, how do you guys deal with the heat? Because, in Santa Marta, they can go to the beach. Cartagena, they can go to the beach. So I'm wondering, what do those interior costeños, what do you guys do to deal with the heat?
We have a spectacular river that...
Oh, okay. Is it Magdalena?
Rio Guatapuri.
Okay, yeah.
This river is cold water. When I say cold, it's cold. You were like, ooh. And it's just clear water. It's so clean. So when we are hangover, or when we do the sancocho, we go to the river.
Yeah.
And we just sit there and relax. And this river has been an inspiration for many vallenato songs. So you can hear Rio Guatapuri through all the, not all the vallenato songs, like some of them. Yeah. And that's what we do. We go to the river, we go to the fincas that they have a river, and we just sit around. That's another thing. Yeah, we eat sancocho even with the heat. It's hot, and we eat hot things. And that's how we do it. That's how we deal with the heat.
Yeah, for sure. But are the beaches
for the river? It's so it's a really, 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 really nice experience.
Yeah, because again, it's so hot in the coast. So I always thought to myself, ooh, it'd be interesting to go to Valledupar, but I was thinking there's no beach, probably no breeze. Ooh, that's going to be even harder than Cartagena. I don't know if I can survive.
And then, we have the Vallenato band, just 3 people. Yeah. And how do you call the orilla, the river? The banks, the river bank. Yeah, we just sit there, and then it's Vallenato, live Vallenato music, the sancocho, and we're happy. And exactly. Alcohol if people drink alcohol.
If you want to. Well, what do they prefer in Valledupar? Is it guaro or is it rum? What do you guys prefer usually in Valledupar, or both? Neither. No.
Whiskey.
Oh yeah, whiskey. Olpar. Is it Olpar?
Yeah. So Olpar, it's owned by Diageo. So Diageo has research, and they've shown that the city that people drink the most whiskey, Olpar whiskey, is Valledupar.
Really?
Valle de Olpar. And they have special edition, the festival, the Vallenato Festival, and our culture is so unique and huge. They have special editions of the bottles just for 5 days for this festival.
Okay.
And they have special editions for singers with autograph and everything. So it's just a different world. But with the whiskey, where you come from, do they? Because one thing about Colombians, maybe a personal culture shock with me with Colombians, is that Colombians never mix alcohol. With Colombians, it's always the little plastic cups, and you just, all right. And we share that thing.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. So it's the same in Valledupar. Is that
It's this same thing. We get a bottle, and then we pass the cup, and we all drink out of the same cup. I don't think, now that I'm here, I think I don't want to keep doing that. And with COVID and stuff, I'm okay, no.
Yeah.
And we do that.
Yes. So when you guys have the Olpar, you never mix it, because I'm from Canada, and in the United States the same thing. So in Canada we got whiskey, and in the United States they got bourbon, like Jack Daniels. But normally we're not drinking it straight unless you're an alcoholic. We're going to mix it with Coca-Cola or maybe Sprite or ginger ale, whatever. But in Valledupar, no, just straight.
Chicken, don't mix it. It's it's a sign that you're a macho man to drink it straight like that. Okay.
So some of that machismo colombiano has to do with it. All right, good. All right. So you grew up in Valledupar. Did you also study university in Valledupar, or did you? Because you said you
I
spent
went to
6 months
Cartagena,
in. Okay, yeah.
but then I love Cartagena, but truth, I have to say it.
Yeah.
Cartagena has 80% is just misery, like poor. It's just
Yeah.
sad.
No.
And
I
I
completely
didn't
agree. Yeah.
enjoy living there. I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy living there, so I transferred to Barranquilla,
Okay.
Universidad del Norte.
Yeah.
I finished. I got my bachelor's degree there, journalist, and postgraduate degree too, organizational communication. And then I went back to Valledupar, and that's how I my experience in Valledupar.
Yeah.
But I've been in the North Coast for my whole life, I can say.
Yeah. You're 100% norteña. You're
Todo,
100%.
100%.
Yeah, Costeño. That was the same experience with me in Cartagena, because Colombians or even foreigners, they'll sometimes say, "Oh, Cartagena is so beautiful, it's so beautiful, so beautiful." But if you only stay in Boca Grande, Castillo Grande, or the Ciudad Amurallada, yeah, it's beautiful. But as soon as you get out of the tourist parts, it's like you said, it's a lot of people living in poverty, a lot of chaos, anarchy. It's for me, it's craziness. For me, the best definition of anarchy I ever saw was,
How do you say legacy? What that inequality? No,
inequality. Yeah, exactly.
inequality is just like rich people, and like there's no, and like when you see how poor people live, it's just really, really poor. They don't even have a toilet, so it's just really sad. And I couldn't just be there, and like my heart was like aching all the time. Like, I can't do this. I can't.
Yeah.
It's
It's
sad
tough to see.
because there's money coming in, but who knows where it goes.
Yeah, exactly. I think even some Colombians say, like, well, there's corruption in all of Colombia, but they often say that the worst corruption is in the Costa. They say, like, there's corruption all over the place, but the worst corruption is if you go to the coast. The Costeño politicians are some of the most corrupt ones in Colombia. And I think, in Cartagena, it really seemed obvious, especially with the what's it called? The Transcaribe. I remember I was in Cartagena when they were constructing I think it's called the Transcaribe, the bus, the big bus that was going to go through
I remember in Cartagena because it's different in every city, but
yeah. So they had the bus, and I remember the Costeños or the Cartageneros complaining because it was supposed to be built in a few years, and then it took 10 or 15 years to build the Transcaribe, and even after it was built, they were still having problems with it. And for the Cartageneros, it was basically a symbol of the corruption in the city, was how long it took to build.
I don't think like Costeños politicians are the worst. I just think like, for example, politicians from the center of the country are more sophisticated, better ways. Smarter. I don't know, but
all right. Yeah. Well, I have lots of experience in the coast, but you're a Costeño, so I was wondering, for you, what would be the main difference between Costeños and the rest of the Colombians? Because Colombia is a very interesting country, because it's basically, 5-6 countries in one country, because every region is very different. So in your own words, how would you describe Costeños? What is the Costeño culture compared to the other Colombian cultures?
We are extrovert. So I would say that's the first extrovert. We are loud.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah.
We're resilient. Like everything is happening, but we're still like living life. We're still happy. We're still fighting for our dreams. We are hard workers, and we love our culture. We defend our culture a lot. We might not be like that, like united between like different cities.
Yeah.
But I think overall we do respect a lot our culture.
Yeah, you guys definitely know how to enjoy life. Like you said, there's the Vallenato Festival. Barranquilla has the Carnival. Cartagena has the Independence Day. Yeah, like every big city in the coast has like a big 1-week festival where everybody just relaxes. They dance, they party.
Like there's parties, like I think every state in Colombia, but we do know how to party and how to do things well in that sense.
Yeah,
And
for
we
me.
have to say, like, the most famous Colombian people are from the coast, the North Coast. Like, we have
Yeah,
Sofia Vergara,
yeah,
Shakira, Gabo, soccer players. So it's just, smart
for sure.
people.
Yeah, for me, if I want a party, it's gonna be with Costeños, because Costeños
Yeah,
definitely know how to party.
100%. We're
Yeah,
Caribbean. We are
yeah,
Caribbean.
yeah, for sure. All right, now, well, let's move on to other topics now. So you basically spent your entire life in the coast, and then you moved to the United States. So when did you move to the United States? What year was that?
It was in 2017. I got here.
2017.
It's been
Okay.
almost 6 years.
It's been 6 years. And I think you lived in many different parts. But the first question I wanted to ask you about the United States, because I find, yeah, like when I was living in Cartagena, the Costeños were always asking me questions about Canada, like, oh, Canada, blah, 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 incredible, blah, 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 healthcare, blah, 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 jobs, blah, blah, blah. And it seemed like there was a lot of misconceptions, misconceptions about Canada or United States. So I'm wondering, before you went to the USA, what were some of your impressions? What did you think it was going to be like? What did you think the people were going to be like? What was your view of the United States?
Well, my view, I came here before I moved here for vacation, but it's just, it's just like your experience in Cartagena as a tourist and living there is just totally different.
Yeah.
So you tend to have this picture in your head that, the United States is the house with the picket fence, the dog, and it's just perfect, and the mailman get there, just perfect. It's so clean. But then you see that there's also crime here. There's also people trying to scam you. There's also trash.
Yeah.
You think it's clean. Most of the spots are clean.
Yeah.
But if you go, say, Walmart, they're very dirty, and then you start like, oh, it's not flawless. It has this stuff. And that was one of my first shocks. Like, it's not perfect, and which I think I knew, but until I saw it, and I experienced and I touched it, I'm like, okay, this is real. And I think when you start watching the news, you see a lot of division. Well, I got here in the Trump administration, so it was just crazy to see people, how they were like half hate Trump, half love Trump. And I'm like, and they would take that so personal and so serious. And I'm just like, whoa, I can't believe this. And on the other side, one part of American culture I just don't like. It's like they know so little about other countries, and that can be disrespectful to your culture. I've been asked if I speak Mexican. I've been asked, and then when I said, well, Mexican is not a language, and then I speak Spanish. Okay, but like, if you speak to a Mexican, they can understand you. I'm like, because when they go to school, they mostly learn about America. They are not, taught about, like, they don't teach you about South America countries. They have most of them. They have no clue where things are, where countries are. So I don't know if that comes from disrespect, discrimination. They don't know, whatever it is. It just turns out like, oh my gosh, like, just please read a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you're saying. I know what you're talking about. I guess for maybe somebody wondering, I think the biggest thing is it's such a big country, and for most Americans, they really don't need to travel to another country in order to, I guess, get beaches or get mountains or basically get whatever you want. So yeah, a lot of them never really travel to other countries. Yeah. Well, yeah, that as well. Of course, you can definitely learn about other cultures. But even for me as a Canadian, when I was growing up, I didn't really learn anything about Latino culture. I didn't know anything about Latinos until I went to university. And yeah, I don't think it's disrespectful. I just think just a lot of gringos just have no interest in the rest of the world. They like their culture, and they don't really feel like learning about what else is going on. And yeah, just sometimes don't have the opportunity. I didn't really have an opportunity until I met my first Mexican. And then, of course, as soon as I met my first Mexican, It's like, oh wow, like, this is cool. Like there's other things going on in the rest of the world. I want to know more. So oftentimes just they don't have the opportunity to meet somebody from another place, and then once they do, well, they're a little bit more interested. But of course, there's lots of stereotypes. I don't know if you've gotten this stereotype before, but I remember when I went back to Canada after going to Colombia for the first time, and it's kind of sad, maybe a little bit true as well. But a lot of gringos, they know that Colombia has a lot of prostitution. They know there's lots of prostitution in Colombia. So I remember I went
sexual tourism.
Yeah, so I was it's kind of an awkward situation, but I was at my grandfather's funeral. He had just died. And after the funeral, I was talking to my mom's cousin, and he's like, oh, you've been to Colombia? I was like, yeah, I was in Colombia. And I was with my sister. So this is what made it even more awkward. And he says to me, oh, I heard that you give a woman, just a few dollars and she'll do whatever she wants with you. And I was with my sister, and I looked at him, and it's not really like that. You can't just, go around handing money to a Colombian woman. She does whatever she wants. So yeah, obviously there's prostitution in Colombia, but yeah, there's lots of gringos that kind of think you go to Colombia, you have a few dollars in your hand, and the women are basically doing whatever they want to you. And it's definitely, for me, yeah, that was very strange, very awkward to hear somebody in my own family say that to me. And I was, no, it's not really like that at all.
Yeah, it's just a reputation we have been dealing with since mafia time. It's just it's changed a lot. This is all the legacy from Narcos. Like, I'm not talking about Netflix, I'm talking about real life.
Yeah.
Give people that.
Yeah.
So it's been we've been trying, the government, nonprofit organizations, private, it's just like to change that reputation of Colombia, but it's hard. It's been hard to change that because it's still a problem that people, go to Colombia and they get access to drugs, and then they get access to prostitution. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people that get the nice and the good part of Colombia, which is more than the bad part, and they are like, well, Colombia has more to show in so different ways. It could be cultural, it can be, you go for the landscapes, you go for the music, you go for the food. So I think it's going to take some time, but we'll get there. Hopefully we will get there, because it's been like more than 20, 30 years of blood, cocaine, and movies, and like bad stories sell quicker than good ones. So it's easier to sell Narcos than to sell, okay, let's just call it Colombia and their mountains. Like, people are like, I prefer this. But it's a work in progress.
Yeah, for sure. And well, it's surprising too, to hear some of the stories from real Colombians. I remember, when I was in Cartagena, I kind of always thought that the Colombian Civil War was more like in the jungle. But I remember one of my roommates, he was from, I think it was somewhere by Santa Marta. His father had a coffee plantation in the was it Magdalena department? Yeah. And I remember him saying that his father had to deal with guerrillas all the time. And he had a shotgun, he had to protect his land from guerrillas. And I think for a lot of Colombians, like the war and the impacts of the Civil War really hit close to home, and they have to deal with it every day, even till today. I had no idea that in the coast they were also dealing with the Civil War, and it was very shocking to me.
Yeah, it's some things like you just see in like the movies, and when people tell me, have you watched Narcos, I'm like, I lived that, I don't need to watch. We've been through a lot.
What's the point of me watching that? I got a first-hand experience. I don't need to see it. All right, so you moved to the United States. What was the first city that you moved to? Because I know that you lived in different cities.
I got to California. Okay. I was living in the San Fernando Valley, close to LA. And that was my first city in the United States. And I remember going to In-N-Out for the first time. Have you been to In-N-Out or heard?
No, but I've heard that has the best burgers in the United States. Yeah.
And they speak fast there.
Yeah.
My English was less.
Less than it is now.
So I go there and my friend asked me like, hey, can you pick up like, or can you go order this and this for me? It was like 6 people. It was 6 burgers and everyone was different. Everyone's order was different. I'm like, okay. So I get there and I'm like, can I have this, the double, no onions, this and that. I'm all like a hot mess. My head's like, what? And then the guys like repeating the order, but they speak so fast. He was like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yes. I just said that. And I said, yes, like that. Why like yes? Because I didn't even know what he said. I swear to God. And I got the whole thing. Like, I didn't bring what I was told. But that's just to show that you take sometimes you think you speak English, but when you go to that country, oh my gosh, so different. My favorite word of the time was what? I couldn't like understand. My ears were not used to this English all the time, so I got really, really confused. But then with time, I improved. And then I moved to Georgia. Then I lived for a little bit in Arizona, and then I'm back in Georgia.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, it's different for every Latino. Some Latinos, they go to Miami, they got money, they're going to live there for the rest of their life. Others, they go for work. Others, they go for tourism. So in your case, when you came, did you already have a plan for what you're going to do? Like, were you just going to be a tourist for a month to enjoy Gringo culture? Were you already planning to work in the United States? What was your plan when you first got to the country?
Well, there wasn't like a plan. I'm a political asylee.
Asylum?
Yeah, so that I just usually keep in private because there's a lot of like, things with immigration. So I'm not gonna just say everything until I become a citizen. So that's like my answer to that question.
Okay. So basically you had to get out of Colombia for very personal reasons, and that's how you ended up in California.
Yes. So, and then when I got here, I'm like, okay, it's a new life. And it's very hard because you go grocery shopping, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you see like 20 brands for white rice. And then you're like, whoa, what is this? And you don't know, like everything is like that. You don't even know what you're gonna eat.
Oh yeah.
Right. I don't know if that happened to you when you moved to.
No. For me, that's one of the hardest parts of traveling. Some people say
you read the labels. That's fine if you read it in Spanish. You know what it says. It's not the same. You don't know the product. You don't have anything like. You don't have a friend to ask for.
Yeah, it's like for rice, for example. You probably experienced this. I know in Colombia, I learned this from Colombians, but for Colombians, they have to massage the rice before they cook the rice. Yeah. So you guys wash it, you guys massage it. It's like an hour-long process just to eat rice. And as a Canadian, and I think Americans is the same thing, you don't have to wash the rice. You just put in some water and you can cook it in 5-10 minutes. It's a very easy process.
Rice?
Yeah, exactly.
Black rice, the one that's like almost done. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so
plastic.
I don't know. I'm not a big rice guy when I was growing up. So for me, obviously Colombians like rice. I think especially in the coast, you guys got so many types of rice, and you guys really like rice. So as a culture shock for me was getting used to all the rices and how much you guys loved rice. It's like, it's rice, whatever. But arroz con pollo, arroz con coco, arroz con mariscos, all the different types of rice.
Arroz trifásico.
Yeah, lots of different types of rice. Probably rice that I haven't even tried yet. Oh, I had rice con tortuga. Was it tortuga? Oh, yeah, I had the turtle rice that you guys like.
Rice festival in a town next to Valledupar.
Oh, okay.
And so we have the best rice, and you find like lots of kind of like rices, and then you have like the person that eats lots of like, how do you say that? The rice eater, the ones that eat more rice in like some time.
Yeah.
So that's how we love rice.
Oh, it's like a rice eating competition.
Rising, yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. Huh? I did not know that. Yeah. All right. Now, because a lot of Latinos, when they go to the United States, they usually have relatives or friends that are already living there. Was that the case with you? Like when you went to California, did you have friends or family that were already
Yeah,
there, or were you completely by yourself?
I had a friend there. I was in her house for around 2 months until I got on my own feet.
Okay. All right. And yeah, so the video that I discovered you with was basically about the different jobs that you've had. So maybe tell us about the whole process of going basically from, I guess, fresh off the boat, getting your first job to the point where you are now. Because it sounds like the first job you got was cleaning rooms. Is that correct?
It was cleaning in a spa.
Okay.
And it just the journey to get your first job is not just about to land in the perfect place for you, whatever. It's just the whole process. Like, okay, I don't have a car. How do I go job hunting? How do I speak? I don't speak English. How, like, what, paperwork I need, what experience I need. It's just the whole thing. And it can be very overwhelming.
Mhm.
So my friends told me, well, you can start working as a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking for that, but then somebody recommended me this person, and she said, well, I was looking for a nanny, but I hired somebody yesterday, but I do have an opening for, I have a small business and it's a spa, and I started cleaning there, and I got fired because I've never cleaned in my life because I used to have home in Colombia.
Yeah.
So I was there for like
Yeah.
2 days.
Okay. Yeah.
I was so clumsy. No, it was just, I didn't even know how to tie a trash bag. I just like, I knew that I wasn't gonna last there. I knew
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But then she said, okay, the nanny quit. And then I started working as a nanny for her.
Okay.
And sometimes I would help with cleaning, but I learned because here in America, it's everything do it yourself. And I think Canada too, you don't have like help for it.
Well,
And it's a process where you get to know people, where you improve in your English speaking and listening and all that. And you have to build your network, because you start here. People say, oh, start from scratch. We will say in Spanish, start from zero.
Yeah.
It's not from zero. It's even like below, because you lose everything. You lose all of your social connections. It's just everything. Like, you are like, what is this? I know nothing about this country. It depends on how you get here. But for me, it was like that. And for so many immigrants, Latino immigrants in the States. And then while you get information about how to navigate the new city, how to navigate the new country, and how to get a car, how to drive, how to learn the traffic signs, how to speak to people, what's the culture. Even here, there's like different job opportunities than in Colombia. So you start learning about job positions and everything. It's gonna take you time. Some people ask me like, it's just hard. It's not hard, but it needs consistency, discipline. Like, you really need to learn and be open to the country that's receiving you. Like, because even if for people that go to Canada, to Spain, for like anywhere you go, Australia, you need to be open to know the new culture, the new city. And that's how you get a better knowledge. And that's how you're gonna get better jobs and everything.
Yeah. So how long did it take you more or less to, I don't know, get your first stable job? I guess that nanny work, was that your first stable job in the United States?
I wouldn't call it that stable, because it was like the weekends and the hours were not fixed hours. So so it took me a year and a half.
Yeah, to like finally get
as an account executive. Yeah, but yeah, I did like a lot of things before that. But that was my first stable job, and I had to learn not to learn, to improve my English in order to get that job. Even though it was a company that sells tickets for Hispanic concerts. You still have to like socialize and negotiate and work like Spanglish. So you cannot be like just Spanish speaker. So it takes time for these kind of jobs.
Yeah, so yeah, about a year and a half. Yeah, it's a struggle, and like you said, you have to be consistent and working hard every day. Obviously, I'm not a Latino immigrant, but I remember when I was younger as well. I was in Vancouver, student, and I didn't have a job. And yeah, my mom just told me, your job is to get a job. So
Exactly.
I was like, you're gonna go out every day, you're gonna hand in your resume, you're gonna do interviews, and your job is to get a job. Like, and yeah, you're not gonna get a job right away. You have to be consistent, and eventually you'll get something. But it's not an easy process. And yeah, I can imagine for somebody with no social connections. And yeah, like you said, people kind of think that it's glamorous because I, live in Colombia for a few months or live in Argentina for a few months. But I completely agree with you. You go to a new country, you gotta learn basically what you're gonna eat. So, because obviously the ingredients aren't the same. I remember in La Costa de Colombia, you guys have the corte de mariposa, the butterfly cut for meat. And that was the first time I ever seen that cut of meat in my life. I was like, well, how are they cutting the meat? And I said, oh, this is the butterfly. And I was like, oh, that does not exist at all.
Exactly. How do you order? And then even I tell people, it's not just only about speaking the language. It's like about the topics people speak. For example, in America, people love talking about the weather all the time. Oh, today's hot. Oh, today's whatever it is. So you need to put your phone, switch it to Fahrenheit so you can talk about the weather.
Yeah.
It's just connected. Everything is connected, And then you need to have a little bit of knowledge about culture and the small talks and how to communicate with people. If not, people are gonna be talking, you're gonna be like, what are they talking about? Oh, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, there's cultural knowledge. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just gonna learn English and I'm gonna be having conversations. But it's very difficult to have a conversation if you don't have cultural knowledge. So for me, it's surprising. For example, one of the most famous singers, I guess, our Diomedes Diaz, is Johnny Cash. And I kind of just assumed that all Latinos knew who Johnny Cash was. But I remember teaching Johnny Cash to my students, and they said, no, I've never heard about Johnny Cash in my life. So there's a whole bunch of little cultural things that you got to know, or else it's going to be impossible for you to communicate with people. Yeah. And like with weather, it kind of makes sense because for us, the weather is constantly changing. Whereas if you're in the coast, every day is, 32 degrees Celsius.
It's hot. We don't need to talk about it. It's just hot.
Yeah. But for us, it's like, oh, tomorrow it's going to rain. Oh, tomorrow the temperature is going to drop 10 degrees and it's going to be a little bit colder.
You check the weather so you know what you're going to wear.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Every day is more or less the same in Colombia. Even in Bogota, it's the same weather. Cali,
you have just throw a jacket on top and that's it. But here's different. So people talk about it. Oh, and then I think you guys, Canadians and Americans, you always are a season ahead. It's winter. And then all the advertising is spring. I'm like, it's spring is here. It's like February or January. I'm like, why don't you just wait till it ends? People prepare for the next season, And other thing, we eat the same all year round, but just December, I think with Christmas that we do all the natilla and Colombian things. But here it's okay, everything is pumpkin spice in the fall. It changes. So you need to be aware of that so you can talk to people and, have these interesting conversations.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree. We have soup in the wintertime, but you don't eat soup in the summertime. Yeah, but you're Costeño, so for you guys eat soup. Doesn't matter what time of the year. It's
we put lime, we squeeze lime over salads and meat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or salt with the fruit.
Yeah, for us that'd be very strange.
Mango with salt and pepper.
Yeah.
So you try that?
I know. What did I always have when I was at the university? I always had the mango salad. Well, I think because in Colombia there's mango biche, which is the salty.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The mango biche. And you guys kind of have it like fries. So you put the salt, the lime, and you have the mango biche.
I was gonna see if you try that because sometimes I do it here. I have salt, pepper, lime, and
Actually, because I wanted to ask you about that because you went to California first, and for me, there's Latinos in all of the United States, but depending on the state, there's going to be a different mixture of Latinos. So in Florida, it's mostly Cubans, Colombians, Venezuelans. New York is going to be Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. In Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, it's mostly Mexicans. So you lived in California. Were you surrounded by lots of Mexicans, or was it a mixture of Latinos from all parts? What were the
Well, I
Latinos
think
in California?
since I got to my friend's house, she's Colombian,
Yeah.
and she had like, Colombian friends, and then I started like my network was mostly Colombian. But of course, you see the difference, like there's more people in Florida, more Colombians, not more people, more Colombians in Florida. That's 100%, right? And then not only Mexicans, just more Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua.
Central Americans, right?
Yeah, you see a lot of people from Central America and California. That's 100% true, even in Arizona as well. But here I'm amazed because in Georgia, there's a lot of Mexicans too, and people from Central America. And but right now, there's a big, huge Colombian immigrant population in the States. Like numbers have been like up. I don't know if it's the economy, the new government. I don't know what it is. Don't want to talk about politics or something like that. But people are getting out of Colombia.
Yeah, for sure.
And like massive immigration to the States. So we have now a lot of people in like, well, Florida, New York, with Venezuelans and Colombians now. It's this you don't use this sign.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I know the sign, it's like this. It's like this. Yes, I know that sign. It's packed. Yes, yeah. Colombians don't even have to say the word. As soon as Colombians do, it's like it's like this. It's like this.
But demographics change a lot. Yeah, you're right. Depending on what state.
Now, from my experience in Canada, and maybe there's less Latinos in Canada, but because when you go to Latin America, you know, Argentinians will say, oh, like, we're not like the other Latinos, or Mexicans will say, they're different, we don't like them, or Peruvians will say, oh, Colombians are really loud, or stuff like that. But as soon as they move, in my case, to Canada, Latinos all of a sudden love each other. It's like, oh, you're from Argentina? Oh, you know reggaeton? Oh, you know all the music? Oh, I like you. But where you live, there's a lot more Latinos. Is it more Colombians only hang out with Colombians and Mexicans only hang out with Mexicans? Or do you have a social network now which has Latinos from different parts of Latin America?
I hang out mostly with Colombians, not because I don't want or I'm open to every culture, just like one friendship leads to another one. You know, it's mostly the same. But I have to say something that might be sad, and I have said this in my videos. The worst enemy of a Latino
are other Latinos.
People, when they just get here fresh off the boat, they're looking for, you know, getting settled in. So they're looking for an apartment, they're looking for a car, blah, blah, blah. So they don't speak English. Who's the person that they look for? I need somebody that speaks Spanish, like a car dealership owner or salesman that speaks Spanish. And so people take advantage of Latinos because when you, oh my God, that person speaks Spanish, you trust that person immediately, just like 100% trust you. And then they're going to buy or they're going to do anything that that person tells you. So it's like notaries or paralegals or, and there's a lot of fraud. And I just always tell people, be careful, not because this person is from X nationality, from South America or Central America, or speaks Spanish, just be careful because so many people trying to take advantage of you in this country. That's my advice. And people agree with me a lot that, we might be united. And then we're like, oh my gosh, you're from this and you eat empanadas and blah, blah, blah. But deep inside, there's a lot of like jealousy and bad things going on.
All right,
that's what it is. I'm sorry.
It is. Like when you're traveling, even for the gringos that go to Colombia, if they don't speak any Spanish, they don't really know much about Colombia. They're the easiest targets for scammers in the country. So obviously for Latinos, they don't speak any English, go to the United States. They're easy targets for people who want to scam.
You don't know how the country works. Like how do you get a car in America? So you don't know, but you're believing all what this person tells you. Because this is how you get a car. This, give me $2,000. Now give me this, give me that. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. You don't really ask any questions. You just trust them, and then you end up getting scammed. So yeah, I definitely think that's good advice. Be careful when you're going to going to the United States. You can't trust everybody. All right. Let's move on to the culture shocks thing. It seems like you have I love culture shocks, and it seems like you got a lot of opinions about culture shocks.
Oh, you saw my videos? No. Yes.
Well, we also just talked about right now. I think the one funny one, and yeah, I had the opposite culture shock. Like you said, in Canada, United States, we like to do everything by ourselves. So like my mother, she's in my mother and father. Right now, they have a little house in Arizona, Maricopa County. You might know where it's at because I think you were in
Scottsdale, maybe. So the snowbirds go there.
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
But yeah. But so for her, like she's Canadian, she would never hire anybody to clean a house for her or have any help. But obviously, when I was in Colombia, like I said before, like it's normal for you guys. If you have a little bit of money, you're gonna hire somebody to get help. So yeah, I guess one culture shock that you experienced very quickly when you're in the United States was that gringos don't really like to hire help for cleaning, stuff like that. Maybe just touch on that a little bit. So from your experience with gringos, when you say gringos don't like help, so what do you mean? I know what you mean, but I know what you mean when you say gringos don't like help, but explain for Latinos who've never been to the United States or Canada, what do you mean by like gringos don't want help?
Well, in America, people don't have living maids or living nannies. That's just for rich people because it's super expensive here. People don't realize that that's a perk that we have in Colombia and South America. And besides that, like living nannies or maids, everything you're gonna find here, like you're gonna buy a couch, they sell you the couch in like a box like this. And then it comes with like tiny tools like this, and you have to do it all yourself by yourself. Like you don't do that in Colombia. You sell me the couch, you put it in my house, you know, like put it together. I'm not gonna put like I'm paying for the couch. I'm paying for a box. But like they have every tool and everything you can possibly find like for do it yourself, you know, and even the food. You have food that you put in the microwave in 2 minutes and just eat it, and it's done because they don't have help for cooking either, or it's just crazy that everything is made and just bring it home and put it together or put it in the microwave or in the oven. It's just shocking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we don't really want help. All right, so that's one big culture shock. I was surprised when you said this. Like, oh well, I wasn't expecting that to be the first culture shock that you talk about. But yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah,
because you take it for granted. That's all you knew.
Yeah,
you know, it's the same when people tell me things about my culture. I'm like, wow, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It was a culture shock for me. Even now, I spent a lot of time in Latin America. I was living in Bogota for 6 months last year, and in the apartment building I was living in, it was like a co-living, and there was lots of other Colombians, and a lot of these young Colombians, like 23 years old, 25 years old, they had a woman that would come to their apartment and cook lunch for them, and I was thinking, maybe I could get it. But it's my Canadian mentality, my gringo mentality was, I don't want somebody in my apartment. I can cook myself. I don't really want to do that.
And you know, you have you can also when people go to university like me, at some point I was living at a person's house, like it was called pension, and so I was just have my own room. But she would do everything for me, like, you know, the laundry, the cooking, 3 meals a day. So just pay the person. And then I was talking to a friend about like living mates and everything. It's like, he's American. It's like, I don't know how you guys live with a person that's a complete stranger in your house for 24 hours. Having that person around you, like watching TV and like that person is cleaning, like I can't do it. And I told him like, well, you can also tell him, Laura, can you please bring me a glass of water? I'm like, no, you don't do that. Like, you just go get it.
Yeah, I think
it seems like you have the same feeling.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like I know for you guys it's not like that, but for us,
I know,
it
but that's
kind of feels like you have a slave in your house. It's like I guess as a Canadian or as a gringo, you feel
yeah.
uncomfortable like ordering somebody to do something. And I know they're not
Yeah.
slaves. You obviously you pay them and everything, but it's
But
just
it's the feeling. I get it. I get it. I
yeah,
totally get it.
yeah.
And
So
then now that I'm here, sometimes I'm talking on the phone to my mom, and I hear like one of my nephew or my niece, they say, Laura, let's say the maid's name's
yeah.
Laura.
Mhm.
Laura, they're like upstairs and she's like downstairs. Laura, can you please bring me this that I left in the
Yeah.
living room? And I hear that, and I think my mind has changed a lot, because I'm like, she can go downstairs. Like, I know they're paying her, but she must be doing something. Like, and it's just now I'm like in the middle, like.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's another thing that you touched on right there is for our parents, like my parents, they want to teach me responsibility. I'm not saying that, Latinos aren't responsible, they don't teach responsibility, but just in our culture, parents, they want their kids to be independent as soon as possible. They want them to be able to fend for themselves, cook for themselves, clean for themselves. And yeah, for me, like in that situation, and when I was in Colombia or other parts of Latin America, and I hear kids like, bring me some lemonade, bring me something. My gringo mind, and maybe shocking for Latinos, is that kid is so spoiled. If I were the parent, I'd be going up there, grabbing them by the ear, say, you go down, you go get your own damn lemonade. You got to be independent. So yeah, just a different cultural mentality, like you said. So there's that. What were some of the other culture shocks that you experienced in the United States?
I think the silence.
I love the silence, but I know for you as a Costeño, you're probably thinking, I want a little bit of noise. I want a bit more noise.
Okay, so the silence. Let's talk about the silence.
For sure.
This doesn't apply for New York.
Okay.
But when I moved to California and I was living in the suburbs, so it's just quiet, the most quiet you can get.
Yeah.
And I was there like, there's no like silence, like there's no sound, like it's no noise, it's nothing. The only thing I could hear sometimes was the leaf blower. And I'm like, I'm missing something. Okay, one of the things I was missing when I moved, we have the fans in the North Coast. We sleep with the AC or a fan in the ceiling or the stand.
Yeah.
I'm like, I missed that little noise. Okay, that was the first one. And then in the North Coast, there's no time that there's silent. So there's always background music from the neighbor, from the streets, the car, something, music. And like, there's no music, nobody's playing music. Then there's no street vendor that goes with like the
banano,
aguacate, manzana, la pera.
Yeah.
I was like, all these sounds mixed together, those were the music of my life. They were part of the soundtrack of my life. And I'm like, there's nothing, like, I was even scared to talk. Because then like, I'm making noise. It was just so calm. And then I found myself that I was speaking very loud. So like, what am I like? Like, that happened with the Costeños, not with people from the center of the country. And so that was shocker for me, so quiet. You hear once in a while, like an ambulance siren or a police siren and the leaf blower. That's it. You don't hear anything else. People, they don't honk. Like we honk for everything and for nothing. And just in case, bang, everything. And I'm like, okay, getting used to that. And feels empty.
Yeah.
The other one. Hold on.
Okay.
Then I don't want to forget.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Where I was living, and this doesn't apply to New York.
I think for everybody watching this, I think New York it's Gringo, but it's a different type of city.
It's just There's no people in the streets. People are in cars. They are all in the cars.
Mhm.
You walk.
Mhm.
I don't walk. I'm not a walker,
Mhm.
but like in Colombia, you see a lot of people standing or
Mhm.
walking or going to get the bus or something like that. Even here in Atlanta, it's just I don't see people. They're all in cars or inside of restaurants or businesses.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think that's one thing I don't like about Gringo culture is it's a very car centric culture, and I like to be able to walk around. I like to be in the streets. I like to be able to walk places, and yeah, you can't really do that in most Canadian and most American cities. You have to have a car. I remember one of my students was a Peruvian. He moved to Salt Lake City in Utah, and yeah, he said the first thing that surprised him was that
people there.
if you wanted to get a job, if you wanted to have any sort of social life, you had to
You need a
had have
car.
yeah, you need a car. So if you don't have a car, it's almost impossible to live in
Must
Canada
have.
or United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You cannot get like, I mean, in these kind of cities, you cannot Uber everywhere. I mean, you could, but can
It's
you afford it?
expensive. Yeah, no, it's too expensive. Yeah, exactly. And question about the noise, because for me, I have, I guess, the opposite problem. So wherever it is in Latin America, I need to sleep with earplugs because I cannot sleep with all the noise. But I think for some Latinos, when they go to the United States or Canada, because there's no noise, they have a difficulty sleeping. So I'm wondering, was that your case when you first moved? Was it difficult for you to sleep without any noise?
I don't have sleeping problems, but I can
No.
see where you're coming from because the fan noise is one thing like people from the North Coast miss a lot. And I've heard of this.
Yeah.
People can't sleep because it's so quiet, that it's extremely quiet. So yes, I don't go through that, or never been through that, but yeah, it's a thing. Incredible. It's unbelievable.
I know for me, people say that, what, you can't sleep without noise? Like I have problems sleeping if there's just a little bit of noise. If there's a baby crying, it's like, oh man, shut that baby up. I can't sleep right now. Oh, it's so noisy.
I know.
Yeah.
So you're a light sleeper?
Yeah, well, I grew up basically on a farm, a finca in Canada. So I basically grew up forests and fields, and there's even more quiet, even quieter than the suburbs. So for me, just a little bit of noise and
My ex-boyfriend, he's American, and
Yeah.
his family, mom and dad, they're just so quiet. I used to call him the quiet family.
Yeah.
It was just like
This is I love my parents, but I definitely have learned from my experience with Latinos how it'd be kind of strange how we don't really talk to each other. We can all be in the same house, but there's no noise. So yeah, obviously if you're in Colombia, they're constantly talking.
you're
Somebody's
like,
yeah.
you're in the house.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, people screaming at each other. For us, it seems like screaming, but for you guys, it's just normal speaking.
Yeah, normal communication. Yeah.
And you talked, well, actually, perfect segue because you quickly talked about your ex-boyfriend who's American. So I make lots of videos trying to help Latinas with problems with gringo men because we are very different. So I wanted to ask you that question. For Latinos who don't have experience with gringo men, Canadians or Americans, how would you describe American men, especially compared to those crazy Costeño men like Diomedes Diaz with 100 kids and all his girlfriends and wives? What would be the difference for you between the two?
I say that's the main difference. Is respect, faithful people, Americans like Canadians, and people from the United States. I think there's more respect to being faithful in our relationship because it's sad, but it is what it is. I just speak the truth. In Colombia, it's like they have normalized cheating. And you're more of a man, you're this macho of like, oh, you went out with your friends and this girl was like, hey, how are you? Oh my gosh, I have to go out with her because, if not, I'm gay. If not, I'm less of a guy. And here it's more serious. I've even heard big conversations between guys. And then one guy can tell another one, like, you have a girlfriend, don't cheat on her. It's just like, these kind of talks, like you don't mess up a relationship. Look, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. But if this conversation was, they went to Latino guy, like, go ahead, just a woman, she's hot, you know, your girlfriend's not gonna know. I'm not gonna tell her, like, just go. You know, it's just different. Of course, Americans also cheat. Yes.
Yeah.
But there is a level of respect that lines you don't cross, or it's like bad. Like, people are not gonna, your friends or your male friends are not gonna tell you, hey, Kyle, you cheated with your girlfriend. Yes, you're just such a man. Say, man, why do you do that?
Yeah.
The guys are gonna like go like this in Colombia. So that's one of the things I like, and that's why I date only Americans, North Americans, because I've learned that, okay, but it comes with a price, maybe.
Yeah.
Less, okay, we love physical touch, right? Latinas. And you're not that physical. There's something, research studies that they have shown that it's in your nature to have personal space. We don't know about personal space. So of course it applies on relationships, like love relationships. You're not going to be every time on top of each other and just hugging all the time. It's not like that. Latinos guys are more like, you know, hugging and touching and all the time. It doesn't mean you love your girlfriend less or more. It's nothing about that. It's just like you want your personal space sometimes, and you feel like crowded when that happens, you know? So that's one of the things I had to learn, because I was feeling kind of rejected, but it's not the case.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally know what you mean. There's actually one of my favorite comedians, American comedians, and one of his specials, he talked about how he wants a woman, but he doesn't want the woman right beside him. He's like, I want you to be in the other room. I want to know that you're in the same apartment.
I want you my left, but not that close.
He's like, yeah, I want you here. I love you. But I want you out of my eyesight. I want to see you, you know, like for an hour, 2 hours a day, but you know, in the other parts of the day, I kind of want my space.
We don't get that.
But yeah, I can understand why for a Latina, it's difficult to try to have a romantic relationship with a gringo, because I know for you guys, you want to feel that love, you want to feel that attention. And yeah, for me as a Canadian, I love, like, especially Colombian women, I love how romantic, how passionate they are. At the same time, just as a Canadian, it's almost impossible for me to be that more Latino man and, you know, always be hugging, like, oh, you look beautiful, like, oh, just fantastic, beautiful. It's like, I can't do it. It's too much for me. But I understand for Latina, it's difficult to deal with that. So yeah, trade-offs. I do believe we're more faithful, like you said. For us, it makes us feel horrible if we cheat on a woman. When I say that you're my girlfriend, it's like, you're my girlfriend, I'm not allowed to do anything else with another woman.
There's a level of respect that we don't have, and I love that. Well, from this culture, not Latino culture. I love that because people don't encourage you to cheat, and that's exactly what happens in Colombia. They encourage you to cheat. It's normal. And as a woman, a lot of women, they don't see that as a relationship breaker. You know, it's just like
something you need to something you need to accept. And like, if your husband cheats on you, your boyfriend cheats on you, it's like, okay,
it's not my case.
No, you're not going to deal with it. All right. Well, I've talked to you for a long time. Maybe I forgot something, but I don't know, any other culture shocks or any other things about Americans that you think people should know?
Let me see. Let me think. Because I have a whole series on my channel, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure. For anybody who's watching this, you wanna find Laura, I'm gonna put her Instagram account in the description.
Yeah, if you want to move to the States or you live here, or I think most of the things also apply to Canada. It's just fun, comedy. I call myself the yellow pages for Latinos in America. So you can find a lot of educational and valuable information there.
Yeah. Maybe one last thing for advice about gringo culture. Like you said, we'd like to talk about weather in the United States and Canada. I don't know, are there any movies, any type of music, anything that maybe a Latino thinking about moving to the United States should listen to or watch just to kind of understand Gringos a little bit better? For example, you're from Valledupar, Vallenato. The Gringo equivalent of that is country music, but I'm not too sure if that'd be helpful or not for Latinos. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that somebody can watch or do or listen to that would help them with the process of assimilating better to the Gringo culture?
There is a website from the Department of, There's a good website, the Department of State, if I'm not wrong, and they post a lot of articles about American culture or things that are going on in the country now that you need to know. And they also have audios and videos, and it's really good. So for English learning and from like cultural information or about America, Department of State, and it's free. It's a free resource, which I love because it helps you with your listening and also cultural knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, if we find the link, I'll put in the description as well.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
And actually, there's one thing that you talked about, and I just want you to talk about it quickly. You talked about how Americans are very politically divided. And I find it funny because in Colombia, there's also the Uribistas and Petristas. But it seems like, based on what you said in your reaction in your face, it seems like to you, Americans are even more politically divided than they are in Colombia, for example. So yeah, for Latinos who don't know about this, how do you describe this political divide? Is it like openly hateful, people yelling at each other? Are there like physical fights? How do you describe the political divide in the United States right now?
The thing is, like, the political division this country is going through is touching things that shouldn't be touched, like science. Like, how I say this? It's like, I don't do this because I'm a Republican. I don't do this because I'm a Democrat. Like in Colombia, it's just politics, on that debate level. But here, it comes down to everything you do in life. And it's just like, for example, COVID, I'm not going to get the vaccine because I'm a Republican and this is this. And like, it's just like, you're not going to even research if you should get a vaccine or something, not because of political reason, because of health reason. I'm not saying like you should get a vaccine, but it shouldn't be
a political discussion.
It shouldn't be, So many topics, they are contaminated by politics, and it shouldn't be that way. That's the part I don't like. And they get very divisive and just a lot of hate. A lot of hate, and it comes sometimes towards immigrants. Well, I haven't felt it like personally, but I know other people have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, like I don't want to talk about politics that much, but like even it's frustrating for me. Like even for music, I'm not really a progressive person. But of course, most musical artists in Gringo culture are progressives. So I guess if I want to be a regular Gringo and be politically divided, that would mean that I cannot listen to any music, watch any movies because they're made by people who have progressive ideas. And it's like, I don't know, I can't do it. Like for me, if there's good music, like maybe I don't agree with the political views of that artist, but I'm going to still listen to the music. It's just music that I enjoy, but
you cannot be labeled for everything in life.
Like, there needs to be a division between culture and politics. Like just because you like a book, just because you like certain music doesn't mean that it has to affect you politically, or you have to let your politics enter that part of your life. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. So yeah, frustrating for sure. All right. Well, I think maybe the last thing to end this interview, I like to do quick hitters. So I'm going to ask you some quick questions. And I want you to give me just quick answer. If you want to explain more deeply, you can, but you don't have to. So
Okay.
like food, music, stuff like that. So you're from Colombia and you're from the coast. So maybe what's your favorite Costeño food?
Arroz de fideo. It's like noodles, rice,
Oh, I know.
fried plantains, and cheese on top. I know it sounds weird. Shredded
Okay.
cheese.
All right. Actually, I think I tried it in Cartagena, but I don't think they made it as good as what you described. I think the ones that I tried in Cartagena were like beans and rice. It seemed very boring, like the string beans and rice.
Talking
It's
about
different.
something different.
Something different. Okay.
I'll
All right.
cook it for you sometime. We get together. We get the
Oh,
opportunity.
okay. Sounds perfect. Okay. Free food. I always like free food. And,
Oh,
one
me
thing I
too.
like
I'm down for
one.
free food. I go to Costa for the samples.
Oh, I guess there's a travel hack when you go to the United States. Go to Costco to get some free food. All right. Good advice. Colombia, for me, one of the best things about Colombia is the juices. And the coast also has a lot of juices which are only in the coast. So maybe what's your favorite Colombian juice?
I don't drink juices, never like them.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I don't know why.
cow,
But I would say like if I had to pick a favorite, it would be mango.
Mango juice? Okay. In milk or in water?
I am lactose intolerant.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. You're lactose. So obviously in water. Oh, see, actually, I think you're the first Colombian that doesn't really drink juice. But is there another Colombian drink that you drink? Because obviously Colombia has good coffee. Colombia has the alcohol. Is there any other drink?
I love sodas, the fruity fruit sodas, the
Okay,
piña,
like
pineapple, grape. I love all those.
oh really?
Colombiana, the
Okay.
Colombiano one.
Mhm.
Did you try that one? The Colombian soda.
I think I
Colombian
tried
is
it.
like champagne flavor with no alcohol.
Okay.
and cream.
Actually, I think I tried it once or twice. Yeah. It's very
Mhm.
famous in Colombia, for sure. Okay, good. All right. Now you live in the United States. Well, actually, you live in a few different cities. So maybe out of all the cities that you've been to, whether as like a tourist or you were living there, what has been the favorite city that you've lived in so far in the US?
The ATL, Atlanta. I don't know.
Atlanta.
I just
Yeah.
love the green. It's so green. I love
Really?
it.
Oh, okay.
Really, it's called like the city in the jungle. Not the jungle, the woods.
The
I
forest.
love these woods. Yeah, woods.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's any jungles in the United States. Okay, yeah, the forest, yeah. All right. Actually, I think I heard that from somebody else. They said they were living in Atlanta and they said, oh yeah, it's nice to, leave the city and go to the forest. And I said, oh, really? There's lots of forests. But
Yeah, just love of like hikes with trees. It's just, I love that. I really love that.
yeah. Well, actually, as a person, are you more of a beach person or are you more of a mountain forest person? Or do you like both?
I'm a both, but more mountain because I don't like the sun. I lived in Valledupar for so many years. I don't want sun anymore.
No more sun? Yeah. You're done with sun?
I go to the beach, but with a big umbrella.
Yeah, you got the famosa carpa. You got the carpa.
Exactly.
All right. What about for American food? Do you have a favorite American food that you've grown to like or enjoy, whether it's, I don't know, a snack or a meal?
I love American steak.
Oh yeah, like from Texas, the Texas steak.
Yeah, I mean ribeye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely juicy stuff. What about for? What about for drinking? Any type of drink, whether it's milk. Well, no. I keep on getting lactose intolerant. So I'm Canadian. I love milk. So obviously the first thing I talk about is milk. Okay. So yeah, for drinking, whether it's alcohol or water or soda, what's your favorite thing to drink from the United States?
Well, not from the United States, but it's been growing on me here. Tea, decaf tea.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm like exploring that and I like it.
What kind of tea? Is it like Earl Grey, green tea?
Herbal teas, like
herbal teas. Okay.
And there's like teas like chamomile and stuff like that like help with your stress. I've been trying them and they work.
All right, sounds good. Oh, I never asked you this about Colombia. What's your favorite Colombian city? Is there one in particular? Valledupar, yes. Yeah, so it's where you're from, so you're gonna say Valledupar. Okay,
of course.
Good. Obviously, favorite music, Vallenato. And favorite dance, Vallenato as well, or do you prefer something else?
Well, let's say first place Vallenato, and then it could be like reggaeton, champeta.
All right, so you know how to sacar Pasos prohibidos.
Claro, por
Yeah, of course.
supuesto.
Yeah, costeños are really good at one thing I like about costeños. They know how to sacar los pasos prohibidos. All right. Well, I think that's all I got for you right now, Laura. So yeah, thank you very much for sitting down, talking with me. I understand you moved into a new place, so you're still getting settled in. So hopefully everything goes well with that. Yeah.
A lot of work, but
pain in the ass.
for having me. Thank you for your invite. I was nervous at first because this is my first interview in English. So what do you say about my English, Profe Kyle?
I think your English sounds fantastic. I like how you use blah blah blah. You're an expert at blah blah blah, just like Gringo. So it's a very Gringo thing to say. Yeah, this blah blah blah. This is blah blah blah. Yes, you're definitely doing a good job of absorbing the gringismos. That's for sure.
Gringismos.
And yeah, I never heard you once say aha, because sometimes Latinos that learn, well, anybody, they'll learn a different language but they'll still use certain things from their language. For me, for example, even though I speak good Spanish, I like to use so or okay. So I'll be speaking Spanish like entonces, like estaba yendo a la tienda, so yeah. So
I try to completely switch.
Yeah.
Work that, yeah.
Yeah, you do a good job. I didn't hear one aha because I know costeños, there was aha, yeah,
We love aha. It's like for everything.
Yeah,
for
everything. Good.
We should do a collaboration, post collaboration on Instagram, a reel. It would be fun.
Yeah, for sure. We could talk about it. People will love it, I'm sure.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah. So, well, I'm going to put in the description, but for anybody who is still with us until now, where can they find you on social media? I don't know if there's a whole bunch of social media channels or if you just focus on Instagram.
It's the same. I have TikTok, Facebook page, and Instagram, but Instagram is the strongest one. It's at Laura Calderon TV.
All right, perfect. So if you want to see more of Laura, even though Laura's, I think, even more popular than me, so who knows? If you're watching this, you might already be following her. But if you're not, you can go follow her on Instagram there. So Laura, I'm going to let you go, let you get settled in. So thank you very much. And yeah, I guess we'll keep talking so we can do a collaboration or something on Instagram.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Laura, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.